Hello and welcome to another episode of 1000 Actually Fun Books. And today we're reviewing,
Keepers of the Lost Cities.
yes, with my son, who is very enthusiastic about this book. So he really wanted me to read it and really wanted to do a review on it. So let me talk a little bit about the plot. So the overall story is a girl named Sophie is introduced at the beginning as somebody who has telepathy and doesn't seem to know why or fit in very well. And it is revealed right at the beginning that she is actually an elf from kind of I wouldn't say an alternate world, but
I would probably say it's at least in a different galaxy than the Milky Way.
it's
but
actually on Earth, is just slightly hidden.
Okay, then I have no idea.
Exactly.
Maybe...
So it's in places like Atlantis, where, it's not part of the human world, but it's still on Earth. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, she comes to the elven world, and the book is a lot of her trying to understand her new world and fit in and earn a place, so to speak, in the world, and a lot of things happen to her. Okay, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's mostly discovering this new world and learning to fit in. Okay, so what did you like about the book?
I liked that one of the things I liked, they had little leaping stones. They had little, I imagined them like sticks with like a little crystal at the top that if they hold it up to the light, it lets them teleport. But they have to be careful, so they have to be careful, otherwise they can die to it by not being, basically disintegrating.
Yeah, they can fade away.
Fade, yeah. People who are starting out, like Sophie, need to wear a nexus, which basically prevents that.
So this is one example of some of the world building. The world building is vast. That's kind of the whole point of the book, is all these different things that are different from our world. So can you think of another thing that's different from our world? You mentioned the trees.
Oh yeah, the trees are they're these ruby trees. I'm like, I cannot imagine that.
Yeah, there are gemstone buildings, and you go down to Atlantis via a whirlpool.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and lots of creative fantasy world building on doing that. The powers are another part of the world building. So, what are some of the powers?
Obviously telepathy. There is, I think blinking or something like that.
Right. It's kind of like teleporting.
Like you step, you go invisible. Take another step, you're visible again.
And you can go through things by doing that.
Yeah. Another one is, I don't know the name, but you can talk to you can talk to literally any language.
Yeah. Multilingual. That's a nice talent to have.
Yeah, she figured that out when she went to Paris.
Mm-hmm. So there's lots of powers. So most elves have some sort of power.
Some don't.
Some don't. But it's a sign of status. You need to have a powerful power in order to be part of the nobility, to go to the elite schools, to be the privileged class. And Sophie starts out having a powerful telepathy. And they're all like, whoa!
She can raise stuff with her mind. She literally saved
telekinesis.
Yeah, she can literally saved her own life by using telekinesis.
Yep. Telekinesis and telepathy later. So she has got a multitude of powers. So Sophie, our main character, is weird in that even for elves, and that she has a lot of powers and people don't understand them. And so, and you get to the end of the book and you don't feel like they've discovered them all. So there might be more in future books. He has started on book 2, so. Okay, so another thing we liked about it were the characters. So what was your favorite character?
Oh, it's either Sophie or Alden.
Okay. Alden is one of the adults. So Sophie is about 12, 13 during this book.
Yeah, she turned 13.
Yeah, during this book.
She started at 12, but she turned 13.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they don't celebrate birthdays in the Elven world because they live to be thousands of years old.
Yep. And Alden is one of the people that brings her to this new world and offers to adopt her, although that isn't the way it ends up going.
It's ending up. Should I say who it is?
Nope, that's a spoiler.
Okay.
Okay, so that's another thing that we liked are the characters. Generally speaking, they're good. There are some bad guy characters, and this can be both good and bad as far as how I thought about them. So, for example, what are some of the bully characters? Do you remember her name? Stina. So she's a bully character that for no reason is, the stuck-up high school student that, looks down on the new kid and, mildly is kind of bullying, but not too bad.
The other one,
There was a counselor.
Bronnet.
Yes. And this is a boy. It's a him.
Yeah, even though it sounds like a girl, I always call it a girl.
Yeah.
When it's a boy.
So he does not like Sophie. And again, no reason. So both of these characters dislike Sophie for kind of shallow, as far as we can tell at this point. Maybe there's a deeper reason revealed in another book, but right now you get through the book and you're like, I have no idea why these just automatically see her and just hate her. And I didn't love that part. Are you dancing to the... Anyway.
I don't know what I'm doing.
So most of the characters I liked. The bad guys, like the bully, for example, is not too bad, not too prominent, not too much of a problem. Same thing with the counselor in this book. He doesn't like her, but it's not in your face. There was a bad guy conspiracy or something going on in the background, which becomes the real bad guy. They kidnap her towards the end, and we won't tell you how she gets out of it or what happens with that, but so that is really the bad guy. And so you've got minor bad guys, but really it's not about that. It's not about the big conflict. It's more about Sophie and her relationships and her schooling and learning the world. Okay, so one thing that I have to say is I liked the level of romance in this book. So they're 12, 13-year-olds, and is very age appropriate. As in, they may have puppy crushes and blush, and that's about it. And that is perfectly fine at that age. So I liked that.
Yeah, she had a crush on
Fitz.
Fizz. I call it Fizz.
It's got a T. Fitz.
I know. I just act like the T isn't there.
Okay.
Because that just sounds
okay.
weird.
So another thing I like, it's not a comedy book, but it has some humor in it. And what was one of the running jokes throughout the series that you liked?
That she had to go to the healer every other week.
Yes. It seems like all the time, everybody's just like, oh, you'll be fine, it's perfectly safe. And yet, there she is again.
And, that even is said in the second book. Keefe, one of the other side characters, literally just says that, it's no big deal. He also, he said, since Sophie made a big boom, I won't say how, he's like, when she went because she was kidnapped and everyone thought she was dead. He's like, man, I missed when all the chaos happened with you, Foster.
Yeah. When she's gone, there's no chaos. Yes. So you kind of get the impression that she comes and disrupts everything. So that's kind of fun. Let's see. So starting on things I didn't like. Excuse me. So there's a trope in a lot of kids' books, and this one had it too, where there's some sort of information that pertains to the kid, and the adults won't tell them. They keep it a secret. I cannot tell you, even though it's all about you and it's relevant for you to know. I mean, this happens a lot in like Harry Potter. The previous book that I reviewed, like 7 books ago, Stormglass, that was in there a lot. This happens in this book. So that it's one of those tropes in kids' books that happens all the time. It's really not found in adult books, but for some reason, authors decide that, a kid, it's obviously appropriate to hide all the information, and then the child, goes to great lengths, foolish lengths, to get that information because it's about them and they feel that they have a right to that information. So it's one of those things that I didn't like about this book because it's a trope that I am not a fan of. Okay. Do you have something that you didn't like?
It wasn't really much.
Okay. One other thing I'll say I didn't like. So the elves bring Sophie to their world, and for the first, fifth of the book, they're introducing her to the elven world, and it's basically all a comparison of how superior we are to humans. Constantly. Look at us, we are vegetarians, and those icky humans down there, they're practically scrabbling in the dirt eating meat. Ugh. And, the humans don't understand light travel. I mean, they have all of their physics and chemistry and everything is wrong. They're basically, they compare humans to animals. And I have to say, it comes across in this entire book kind of like how I expect Europeans viewed like Native Americans or Africans. We are superior, look at our superior technology, that is obviously why we are so superior. And those awful savages. And I didn't like that. I didn't enjoy that obvious prejudice. Now, because it's a fantasy and you have elves versus humans, it is socially acceptable to do that in a book. But I didn't like it because it is a very much elitist, we are the superior people, and then there are those other people that don't deserve the same things that we have. And I didn't like that at all. One last thing I'll say is there is some difficulty with Sophie in figuring out adoption stuff. So she is set with a foster family. It seems like she's going to get adopted. Then they reject her. And then there is a period of uncertainty where she is understandably very upset about this. And the author does a good job of trying to give a reason for why they reject adopting her. But as a parent, and I have had a foster son, I think that is awful. I mean, absolutely awful. I'll talk to you about that later. A parent should never, a foster parent, a prospective adoptive parent, to give a child like that hope and then to take it away is cruel in a way that I don't think any adult should be toward a kid. And they get over it by the end of the book, but that is pretty traumatic. And again, this is just from an adult parental perspective. I just didn't like that. Okay, so overall, what do you think?
I loved it.
He loved it.
Also, it's dramatic, not traumatic.
No, it was traumatic. It would be traumatic as in really, really painful to be rejected by a parent. Okay, so he loved it. He loved it so much he asked for the second book, which for him, who is not a huge reader, I always have to be like, go do your reading for school, and he's like, this is a huge thing. So I liked it. I liked it better than the Stormglass book, even though there's a lot of similarities between that. I think this was done better. If you like the Harry Potter type of thing, especially the first book in Harry Potter, where you were going to a brand new school and all the world building of what the magic system is and fitting in and getting friends and things like that, then you would like this book. So, yeah, that's pretty much, I think, all we have to say about that.
It's a good book.
It's a good book.
And it also has hold on. 8 sequels.
Yeah, I think there's actually more than that now. I think it's up to 10. All right.
I'm excited to read all of them.
All right. Thank you very much for watching. I'll get to part 2 in just a second.
This is 49 chapters, by the way.
I realized reviewing the video that we didn't say the author's name. So, Keeper of the Lost Cities, Book 1 by Shannon Messenger. Okay, my son has wandered off again, and so I'm going to do part 2, which is introducing the next book that I'm going to review, and that would be The #1 Ladies Detective Agency. And I picked this one because I was looking for some books that took place in Africa. Fun books that took place in Africa, not ones dealing with slavery and colonial oppression and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking for something lighthearted and fun. And this one came up several times in various ways, so I'm assuming it's a mystery. Detective agency, yeah. So yeah, we're going to try that one for our next book. I hope you will join me, and thank you very much for watching.